This episode of Recording Studio Rockstars is brought to you by Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, and Picker. In fact, you're hearing my voice right now recorded through a Spectra 1964 STX 100 mic pre and mixed with Isotope, Ozone, and RX on Atom Audio monitors and headphones. Grab my free mixing course at Mixmaster Bundle with the link in the show notes below. And please make sure to visit our fantastic sponsors also in the show notes and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel because it's a great way to help support this show. Now get ready to rock.
We had recorded a number of songs, and then the song Until I Found You came in randomly, maybe towards the end of this EP that we were making. And I just remember he came over to Conrad's, and I mean, there's not much going on in that song. It's a very few elements. And I just didn't think much about it. It wasn't that I didn't think it was a good song. I thought it was really good, but where it ended up going and the impact that it had, it's just, you just never know these days. It's like months and months later, it was like doing this, and then it was doing this, and then it was doing this. And for it being such a throwback song, you know, it's just, I think it exceeded all expectations.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. Rockstars, if you want the ultimate toolkit for your music, check out Complete 15 from Native Instruments. With 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds to choose from, it is the most powerful creative tool in your studio. From Contact 8 to Massive X, Battery, and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, you've got everything you need to create in any genre. Pair that with Native Instruments control keyboards and machine hardware, and you get next-level integration that makes music creation fun, fast, and seamless. Head on over to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. It's Lid Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Ian Fitchuk, a two-time Grammy Award-winning musician, producer, and songwriter based right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Ian has worked with a wide range of artists, including Beyoncé, Leon Bridges, Maggie Rogers, Kacey Musgraves, Joy Oladokun, Chris Stapleton, Noah Kahan, and Pink, as well as filmmaker Baz Luhrmann. He co-produced Steven Sanchez's worldwide hit, Until I Found You, which has earned over 2.7 billion streams on Spotify. Ian co-wrote and co-produced Kacey Musgraves' Golden Hour, which won multiple Grammys, including Album of the Year, along with Album of the Year honors at both the CMA and ACM Awards. And his recent work spans genres from pop and country to soul and film, with credits on Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter, Kacey Musgraves' Deeper Well, Maggie Rogers' Don't Forget Me, and collaboration with Joy Oladokun and Chris Stapleton and Leon Bridges. Please welcome Ian Fitchuk to Recording Studio Rockstars. Ian, my man, welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. Are you ready to rock, dude?
I'm ready to rock.
Dude, I'm so glad to have you here, man. It's an honor to finally have you on the show. We've known each other for a long time, many years, decades, I guess.
I think so.
At least 15 years,
if
not longer. And and used to be neighbors.
That's right.
Yeah. I think I was joking that I think I still have an IKEA dresser that I bought used off you when you guys were moving once upon a time.
That's right. Yeah, I lived 5 or 6 houses down the street from right here.
Yeah, this is a good neighborhood. It's really changed a lot, and it's gotten very musical. It was always pretty musical, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of musicians now, and we finally have a block party. Happens right in front of your old house, actually.
Love that.
Yeah. So I've known you for a long time, but not everybody else necessarily has. So give us a little bit of an overview on, how you started out in music and got, you can give us the brief version if you want. How'd you get from wanting to do music to winning album of the year?
Yeah. Well, could be a long story, but I guess the shorter version would be, I grew up outside of Chicago in the western suburbs, and both of my parents were musicians, classical musicians. My dad was a violist, and my mom is a flute player, and they both were also teachers. So my whole life, they were, and the church that we went to, they were very involved with the music there as well. So I grew up kind of surrounded by music. And I took a little Suzuki violin when I was pretty young, and then started piano lessons. I'm not sure what age.
Bring it in for Suzuki violin, man, right there.
And so, yeah, I started, taking some lessons early on. And I think, somewhere along the way, I took a few drum lessons. Somewhere in junior high school, I learned to play guitar enough, but and was in school marching bands and school bands. Had my own bands in junior high and high school.
Drums in school bands?
Well, yeah.
Or did you try a lot of different instruments?
Yeah, I'm pretty early on. I mean, I would say that from the beginning, that drums and piano have been kind of in tandem for me. Like, I had more training, I guess, with piano, but drums has always been kind of a home base for me as well. And
I feel like a lot of the sessions we did earlier on, you were doing keyboards or drums on them.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of when it came time, I did all of that, just growing up, and in choir and everything like that too. But when I decided to keep going with music, to kind of, and that's how I ended up in Nashville, was I found Belmont University and was attracted to their commercial music program, because at the time, I had studied mostly classical piano, but was like writing songs and kind of in jam bands and stuff like that. But it seemed like a lot of the programs were either kind of a jazz direction or a classical, with the exception, of course, of like Berkeley, which I was considering. But I had a friend from high school that had gone to Belmont, and she was just like, "I think you would really dig that. You should check it out." And I did. And when I came down, I guess in 1999, the summer between my junior and senior year in high school, I loved Nashville, and the music professor at Belmont, this guy named John Arn, who was a jazz cat. I just really connected with him, and I wanted to learn jazz piano. I hadn't really played or studied jazz at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he made it feel like really approachable. And so I was like, I didn't even end up looking at other schools. It just felt like that was the right call.
Yeah.
And so that was in 2000. I came down here.
That's a trip, dude. I had no idea that you were into jazz.
Well, I mean,
you went to, wanted to study it and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think what I was starting to say was that the commercial music program at Belmont was kind of ambiguous as far as like, you could kind of play popular music, and it incorporated jazz and classical. Like I had two different professors, but honestly, I didn't get very far. I mean, I was basically dropped out by the middle of my first semester. So I moved here, and the first week that I was here was at a college, party beginning of the year, and met some guys that had a record deal and were finishing up an album, and I just started hanging out with them. And next thing I know, they're like, "You want to come on tour and see the world?" And I was
That's
like,
pretty wild.
"Yeah, that's gonna be great." My parents were like cautiously encouraging, and we're like, "You can drop out, but you're on your own, Let's and so that's what I did. Yeah, I left at the end of my first semester, and toured for about a year and a half, and kind of quickly realized that wasn't, at least, yeah, that wasn't what I was looking for.
On keys?
Yeah, I was playing keys, and it was just a lot of time in the van. It wasn't a lot of time playing music, and I love to travel, but it wasn't like you're really seeing these places. You're just kind of passing through, and a lot of idle time that I was, at that age especially, was not very
a lot of reading,
productive. No, I was, yeah. So I don't know. It was kind of it was a great experience to have. I did get to see a lot of cities, and it was really exciting. And it was adventurous, but yeah, I realized that wasn't where I really saw myself going. And so I left not really with any kind of a plan. I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. I knew I still wanted to play music, but I didn't really have any experience in studios. And so I actually re-enrolled at Belmont, funnily enough, as a religion major. I was just kind of, I don't know, I didn't know what I was doing. And that's okay. And I re-enrolled as a part-time student, but around that time, a friend of mine who was in the Christian music industry was a young producer and had a lot of opportunities. He was, he was younger than I was. So he was like 17 years old, like producing label projects for these Christian acts. And I just started hanging out with him, seeing what he was doing. And that was like enough for me to see that the studio was like, that's my domain. Like this is endlessly curious to me. And between that and also meeting a friend of mine named Griffin House, and just kind of haphazardly really like making music with him, which led him to a record deal, that was kind of the genesis of like, okay, maybe record, being a part of studio production, maybe this is an avenue worth exploring. And back then in Nashville, this is in 2002, 2003.
Yeah,
I was living. I mean, I think my rent was less than $250 a month.
Yeah,
I was like able to. I had a couple ice cream shop gigs, but for the most part, like, I was able to get by in various ways, playing gigs around town.
There's also a time where you could eat cheap around Nashville still too.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I lived over behind Zany's, and I remember there were days collecting change from my car and elsewhere and walking over to the Burger King on 8th and get, whatever got the job done,
I totally remember that. The first studio I was at, one day I was like, what do you mean Taco Bell has bean burritos and they're only $1?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I'm going to be able to eat.
Yep.
I can do this.
I also remember in the short touring days, like we'd get, $20 per diem, and I figured out that if I did the 99-cent menu at Wendy's, I discovered I really liked their chili, and I could have enough beer money if I just stuck to the 99-cent menu at Wendy's, and I lived on that for a good year. So.
I totally get that. My beer money was very important to me back then.
Yes, yeah.
Now it's not, but at that time it certainly was. Yeah, that's cool, man. And I can relate too, like there was a period in the 90s where my rent was $150 a month.
Yeah.
Split in place with Mike Grimes of all people.
Wow.
We were roommates. But so you were doing that. And then I know when I met you and we started making some records over here at the Toy Box, Lex Price was producing some stuff, and, you'd come in and join us and play drums and keys and stuff. Those were fun. I mean, it was like a groovy group of people to hang out with.
It was a special time. I want to say that was in somewhere between 2005, 6.
Yeah.
Maybe later than that.
Yeah, because I didn't open my doors till about 2007. So
okay.
Even almost 2010.
I mean, really from 2002 until, well, I guess 2020. I mean, really that kind of arc of time for me was just like Nashville It was such a cool. There were a lot of little scenes happening here, and it was kind of at the advent of like home recording, where people like
Yeah.
yourself were starting to build these really like Joe Pisapia, Eric Massey, a lot of friends, especially on the East Side.
Eric McConnell.
Yeah, there was just and Mercy Lounge and 12th and Porter, and like there was a music scene here at the time that, I was like, I'd go out and play with some friends at the 5 Spot or at Mercy Lounge, and next day I'm recording some indie band or indie artist that's around, and there was just a lot of different things to dip my toes into, and developing relationships with other producers as I was kind of slowly figuring out how to do that on my own terms. I had the benefit, and I still have the benefit of like having known so many people in this town that are great at what they do. And I've said kind of in other interviews too, it's like one of the things I'm most grateful for along the way has been like, for a while I'd be known to some people as like a keyboard player, or some people would know me as a drummer, or some people would know me as a producer, and being able to like be invited into the creative process from so many different angles, and kind of from those vantage points, being able to like glean whatever I could, see how other producers worked, see how other drummers worked, and being able to, not just be, I think at times it has been frustrating, like the dilemma of doing so many different things musically, whether it's the instrument I'm playing or the genre that it is or whatever. I used to kind of I wondered for a long time if that was preventing me from being really good at anything.
Right. It's that like, am I a jack of all trades?
Well,
I
have said I'm a hack of all trades, right?
Hack of all trades.
But in the long run, I think it's served me in a great way. Slowly kind of developing the different skill sets that I've had.
And it just takes a while before people know of you as somebody who can participate and you could play any instrument. Something like that, and that becomes pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been really cool to and at first it would bother me, I think, if somebody thought of me as really one thing as opposed to several things. But I got over that, and even still now, like there are people that I work with that I think even their awareness that I can do, that I have the ability to help write a song, they'll be asking me to only produce or come, can you just play drums on this song? And I'm just happy to have things to do and people that trust me with their music,
It is nice to do sessions at times where you come in and you're only expected to just sort of fulfill one thing.
Absolutely.
And
it's
like
great.
You don't have to overthink everything else.
The thing I have been missing recently is playing live music. It's been quite a long time since I played music regularly at all. That's something I've been really missing. It was like I was saying, it was kind of it was synonymous there for a while in the early days, like where I was just I don't know, there were just more opportunities to play, and it'd be kind of low pressure and not a big deal. But things change, and so I'm feeling like maybe there's something I've got to do about that, and not just wait around for.
So some of the stuff that I think of from those days, there was 8 on 8th at 12th and Porter, Daniel Tashin. Was that sort of his creation?
Daniel, yeah, he did 12 at 12 at 12 at 12.
Oh, 12 to 12. So that's what
and
I'm
then
thinking
8 off 8th, as far as I know, was basically just a replica of that I don't think he organized.
No, I'm just mixing up my numbers. I'm getting my numbers.
But yeah, I mean that was legendary. I mean, and I kind of came into town kind of at the tail end of 12 at 12, and I was a bit more a part of the 8 off 8th. But yeah, 8 different artists would get up and play, I think 3 songs. And
So yeah, which one am I? So 12 on 12th was 12th and Porter, and what was 8 on?
that was at Mercy Lounge.
Oh, Mercy Lounge. Okay, got it. Right. Rock stars, are you ready to unlock the full potential of your mixes and masters? Then you need iZotope Ozone 12. This complete tool set gives you 20 pro modules, including the new bass control, unlimiter, and stem EQ, plus the IRC5 maximizer for loud, clean mixes and masters without distortion, including the new mastering assistant that guides, not decides, so you are always in control. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. What about the film, the 10 from Tennessee movie? Was that something you were a part of too?
Yeah, I was more a part of that kind of tangentially. I wasn't a part of that film, but that was in a kind of a crew of songwriters: Trent Dabbs and Butterfly Boucher, Jeremy Lister, Katie Herzig,
KS Rhodes.
KS Rhodes, and that was absolutely definitely like a scene that I would say I was kind of in the mix with, kind of late 2000s. And that was awesome. That was kind of, and the way that I think back on that is that was around the time that everybody started to find opportunities with sync music, like SYNCK for those that don't know. But yeah, everybody was starting to get songs placed in Grey's Anatomy and all these different television shows. And for that group of people, of which I was, I guess, a part of, it was a cool outlet for kind of left of center singer songwriter type music that wasn't obviously like mainstream country music, and it wasn't mainstream pop music. It was kind of this, niche thing, and it gave a lot of opportunities for people like me that were kind of like, music that you were making wasn't necessarily on like the culture, the bigger culture radar, but it slowly became more that way. But
yeah, well, then that one, at least in the film, it was kind of cool because there was a tour involved where everybody was on a bus. And made for a good movie too. Put everybody on a bus, get a little drama.
That was cool the way they put it all together.
This is fun. I enjoyed seeing all that stuff, and I personally, I sort of, what's the word? I hitched my wagon to, the studio early on, and I sort of let go of the music and performance stuff for a long stretch. And, now having let that go, I'm like ready to do it again. So I'm always like excited about making more music.
Yeah.
What are the things that you felt like you let go along the way that you want to get back to? Anything? Well, you said performing.
Well, I think the thing I'm kind of, and have been investigating for a while, but especially just recently, is just making music kind of on my own terms for with no intended goal. I think for so long, I mean, 25 years, especially, and I started a family when I was really young. I was like 24. So for most of my career, it's been like, there's most all the time an objective in terms of like, this is a gig. This is something that I'm doing to earn a living so that I can provide for kids and so that I can buy a home and, all these things. And over time that just snowballed so much that, what I have kind of missed and what I'm looking for right now is, that place, trying to kind of reintroduce myself to myself. That sounds disgusting, but yeah, like figure out who I am musically without other people. And the truth is, I love making music with other people. I think that's always been one of my favorite things about music, is the way that it connects me with other people. And to be honest, I think I've at times envied people who were creative for just creativity's sake, that would could stay up all nighter for days on end just making something that they feel like they've got to
Like Joe
make.
Pisapia?
Yeah, he's a great example.
He was telling the stories
Daniel
of that,
Tashin. Like I've been surrounded by these people that I'm just like amazed at their what they generate creatively. And I think I've always wondered if I had that in me. And the other side to that is that in a good way, I think I've always cultivated other interests for myself that have taken the space that I do have for that kind of time. Like, I mean, today I went and hiked for 2.5 hours because
nice, man.
I need it. I love it. I love being
Were you
outdoors.
like hiking around Nashville?
Oh man, we could do a whole podcast on that. Today I actually went to a trail up north of Ashland City that I had never been on. Cumberland, something or other. I'll have to look it up.
That's cool. Ashland City is a fun discovery too.
It's great out there. Yeah, I go to Beeman a lot. I mean, I have my rotation of things that are kind of within the city limits, so to speak. But then I've got a whole other realm that if you're willing to drive an hour and a half or so, then you get into the really fun stuff.
Yeah.
But
we are circle back and get some good.
Yeah,
get some good ones from you.
The Air Park and Greenway on the east side. I mean, that's my sanctuary. I mean,
yeah,
I'm there almost every day.
Launch from there all the time.
Yeah,
it feels so good. I mean, just to be in the city and do studio life. I mean, here we are on a video studio, and the first thing we notice when you come sit down is like lights are just in your face. And which is actually, this is more well lit than a recording studio usually, which is dark and moody. But music studios, no windows, and so like we really cherish once we get outside.
Yeah, and I guess to my point, it's just like I think it's good to read books and to ride bikes, and I like to color. I like like colored pencils, and so I guess to answer your original question, it's like I am in the process of interestingly, I've never really had my own studio, which is kind of a weird
I was going to talk to you about that too. I mean, because I remember I thought you had a studio with somebody else.
Yeah, it's always been attached to somebody else or in somebody else's place.
Juice or
Justin Laux. He's a big part of my story. I mean, we met 2002 or 3 and made Griffin's House's music together, and then a bunch of other Jeremy Lister, Denova Dahl. I don't know if you remember that band. We did a lot of work together as a production team.
Yeah.
And we had like 3 or 4 different places along the way that sometimes it was a house, sometimes we briefly had a place on Music Row, but and then for a long time over by the fairgrounds, Neil Dahlgren's he built a studio in his backyard that we kind of inhabited for a number of years. But
and then you're down the street from Steve Sadler's down the street from you if you need your tape machine, your MCI tape machine.
All right, there you go. But so I'm in the process. I have at my current house, I have a little room, actually the size kind of this, that I've just like, I haven't really tapped into like a creative flow there. And I'm just realizing the past couple of days that I think I'm going to move it into another room that's going to give me some more space. And I'm just hoping to, in the next few months, tap into some like, I don't really know if it turns into a project of my own or if it ever sees the light of day. But I think just the practice of like making music really with no direction or no purpose in mind. I've spent most of my career serving in a great way other people. I mean, and I really find a lot of joy in that, and I think that's where I've belonged, and that's where I probably will continue to belong. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what happens if I start just putting some things down and without thinking about it too much, and maybe along the way something will reveal itself. And
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's a really crucial question. I'm really fascinated by songwriting now, and taking an idea from beginning and seeing it through. And to your point, there is there's the writing prompt concept, there's the assignment concept. It's like, hey, let's do something that's in this kind of something, and then there might be something where you find other ways to begin the idea, but probably no matter which one you choose, there's probably still like, well, you still got to decide you're carving out the time and going to be in the studio for these hours or whatever.
And I could see it turning into a thing where I give myself assignments, maybe if that propels me. But I think the last time I wrote a song start to finish by myself was probably when I was in 5th or 6th grade.
Oh man, you're overdue, dude. You got to do it.
Yeah. So there's definitely some fear there. I recognize.
Good.
Is
It
it good?
means it's the right direction.
Can I even do it?
Don't you think fear means it's the direction we're supposed to go?
It depends on what kind of fear, but
right,
yeah.
True. I mean, fear of don't run in front of that truck. That's a good, healthy fear.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning a lot about opposite action right now, and it's usually, it's well, anyways, but So I'm kind of I'm curious about songwriting, and when I think about songwriting, it doesn't necessarily mean verse, chorus, bridge, chorus.
Right.
I mean just completing a creative idea, even if it's an instrumental, and starting it and finishing it, and not having it be a response to somebody else's need for where they're going, which is exactly what I've always done. Yeah. So
now, what about singing for you and lyric writing? Where do you sit with all that?
I sang a lot in high school. You
got a cool sounding voice.
Well, thanks. I'm very self-conscious of it now. I mean, occasionally I will sing some background vocals, and but I'm very timid. I think maybe it's just been being in Nashville and being around so many great singers, and kind of feeling more comfortable with the things that I feel confident in, which is, playing instruments and production. But I don't know. That it'll be interesting to see if I can find a way back to hearing my own voice and being okay with it somehow. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges when it comes to me.
I think
thinking about the idea of.
I think you can totally do it.
Well, thanks. I've
been doing a ton more of that, and I've been actually encouraging all my musician friends to do it too. And we've been doing these sessions where we throw bands together out of all, a variety of songwriters, and I'm always just blown away when somebody finally just steps up to the mic and just sees a song through.
Yeah.
We take a little bit of we make it a little bit easy to get started. So, we work with, everybody's working with, there's one poet and we're all working with poems that he wrote. So nobody has to necessarily come up with a whole thing to say exactly,
That's cool.
But it's really cool for me, hearing people discover their voice,
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I love helping other people through that in the recording process. So to undergo that myself, it's daunting, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. You were talking about looking for inspiration in other places like coloring and reading books and doing things. Do you feel like you picked up some of that or really bonded around that topic with Sean Everett when you were working with him?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like he was bringing those kind of
Sean's just he's incredible. I think that his pursuit, his exploratory nature. Just it's funny for mixing, and I've worked with a lot of different mixers over the years, and they all do different things. But Sean has always been somebody that it's almost another layer of production, really. I mean, and to see, I always kind of reference this one particular song that he worked on for us a few years ago called Gracias a la Vida, which is the last song on Star-Crossed.
Got notes about that.
Man, yeah, like we came into the studio one day and while we were mixing that record, and he's like, I was up all night. And he's like, you may hate this, but I had this crazy idea. What if every verse was like a different era, a different decade, basically? And this is an old song, an old traditional song that, he basically...
it starts out with a scratchy vinyl record,
right? He went through the medium of each decade, basically, and would amplify and re-record and process in a way that would have been done I guess he started in the 30s and then 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848.
And then it turns into this very futuristic thing. But like, that's like, who does that? I mean, as a mix engineer, and in a beautiful way too, it's like, he's always willing to pivot at any moment too. It's one thing to be adventurous. It's another thing to be detached in a helpful way.
Right.
And in that case, we loved it and it was great. But if we had said thanks but no thanks, he would have been totally ready to move on to whatever was next or whatever. He's just he's a team player, and he's really inspiring to work with.
Yeah. Well, you guys made some really great sounding music. I mean, Golden Hour is obviously that was sort of my introduction to it. And when he was on, we talked about Alabama Shakes, Sound and Picture,
Sound and Color, yeah.
Sound and Color, yeah. They're like some of those sounds. I was just like,
what's funny is that I didn't I was not really familiar with that album when we initially reached out to him. I had thought to reach out to him to mix Golden Hour because I had heard Blake Mills' record, Hey Ho or Hi Ho. I never know what the pronunciation is, but I just thought that sounded incredible. And obviously, like, there were a lot of great people involved with that record, Blake obviously being one of them. But yeah, I thought the combination of like organic elements and this kind of cosmic, I guess maybe psychedelic realm, where those two worlds were kind of overlapping, I thought was just really interesting. So that's initially why I'd reached out to him for Golden Hour. But I think it's awesome.
You guys pulled that off with Golden Hour too.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks. I'm proud of the fact that record has 3 mixers on it. Sean, Craig Alvin, and Serban, who are all 3 just wizards in their own right. And somehow, if you're listening to that record, I don't think, unless you would disagree, I don't think it doesn't occur to you. Yeah, it just feels like one project, and I love that. I love when a project includes a lot of factors that on paper you wouldn't ordinarily. Yeah. It doesn't look like A plus B equals C. There's some surprises.
Where do you think some of that continuity comes from? Do you think it helps a lot that you and Daniel were very attentive all the way through. Does Kacey have just like a really strong vision for making a record?
All of the above. I mean, that was like a really small kind of core crew. It was Kacey and Daniel and I, Craig Alvin, who he engineered the whole record, and Todd Lombardo, your neighbor.
The magic thumb.
The magic thumb.
The magic thumb strum.
And that was really it. There were a few songs that had come from other writers as well, but for the, so yeah, there was just continuity in terms of like just the team that was on board for the entire thing. But you just, once in a while, everybody's strengths and weaknesses, I guess, when all of that stuff kind of comes together, and everybody's communicating well and trying to have fun, like good things happen. And also no one kind of breathing down your neck saying, there wasn't a lot of overthinking going on with that. And that's a difficult, it's hard to find yourself in that situation.
Is that partly because of, when you're in the music as business space, sometimes the record label or somebody who's funding is really, you feel them looking down with expectation. And then sometimes you find yourself in situations where nobody's quite looking yet and you have a little more freedom, and then excitement builds. I mean, how did that record come together?
I mean, I think it was to our advantage that, at that point, Daniel and I, we had both been making music in Nashville and had, I think that we both had a lot of great things going on. We both had a lot of music that we'd made that, I guess was respected by our peers within the community here in Nashville and maybe beyond that a little bit. But, nobody from her label or anybody from the outside world was, it wasn't like she had gone in with, Max Martin or Rick Rubin or, there wasn't like, the cast wasn't like something that everybody was sitting around going like, what's going to happen next? So there were low expectations, I guess. And not because, Kacey was at a good point in her career. So I think that people were eager to hear what she was doing next. But, the stage was set for anything to happen. And yeah, we weren't trying to outdo something that had already been done. We were just like, we were having fun writing the songs that we were writing, and they were leading us down this path of like, well, there's more. So let's keep doing that. And then having the fortune of being able to work at Sheryl Crow's barn space. Like it was just felt like somebody had given us the keys to the castle, it was just like,
I think Craig wasn't he with you recording?
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff
Yeah.
too?
And Craig,
he's got such great concept around.
He's so sharp, and really understands the science of engineering in a way that it's like, yeah, when you have somebody like Craig whose attention to detail when it comes to recording, and then you've got Todd who's just like his musical sensitivity and knowing how to blend in and not get in the way, but also like kind of hold things down, and you've got Daniel all over the place, like just creative, like ping pong, and I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of all that. I don't know. It's just you. Yeah, we all made a really good team. So,
are you like the mellow glue?
I think that's fair to say.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, sure. I think. Daniel and I have a wonderful thing where we both play a lot of different instruments, and we know we play well together, and there's not a lot of conversation around who's going to do what. It's just a really natural, if he's playing this, I'll play that, and you want to try this, and there's just this ebb and flow.
What is that about?
Beautiful
people that we play well with, or like when people play well together? I mean, what is that? It's like,
That's a great question.
I think about it when I'm jamming with people, which is just like a good way to find out quickly. You know, I was like, are we listening to each other? Are we not listening to each other?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of factors in terms of like how you grew up, like what musical situations you were in, who you are as a person, how you communicate as a human being. I mean, God, that would be figuring out what musical compatibility, how to break that down. Because you don't necessarily put people in a room who are virtuosos at their respective things, and it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be this incredible exchange. You know,
Right.
there's something deeper than that it requires to have something just really special.
Yeah, it's fascinating. There's verbal communication like we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's in the studio, there's this like mental communication that happens too. Do you feel like that mental communication sometimes extends beyond line of sight in the studio? Or do you think that line of sight is really, really key to that too?
I've never really considered that. I mean, I think it helps to have some line of sight, but I mostly listen with my ears, and a lot of times my eyes are closed anyway.
Right. Yeah.
I think more important to me is natural light. I like having natural light in the studio. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some good studio situations where natural light comes in? What are good ways to do that?
Cheryl's place was great for that. You know, it had a bunch of windows. It's funny that I'm thinking about it now. I mean, Sound Emporium, which I love, doesn't have light.
Got a lot of natural wood though.
Yeah,
right?
and neither
like
does Blackbird. But so you can make do. But Daniel's his studio, his garage, there's plenty of light there. I used to work at Echo Mountain sometimes, and that had beautiful stained glass.
Yeah, sorry to see that place go.
Me too. It's been a long time since I was there, but I love that spot.
What about other studios, like faraway studios, places that you got a chance to go to?
One amazing studio gotta give a shout out to is El Desierto. That's outside of Mexico City,
mm-hmm.
and it's in this just incredible home. I guess it's about an hour outside of Mexico City, up in this national park. Basically, it's in the woods, and it's just this incredible architecture. This wood home that the guy that runs it, his parents built, and they were both musicians in Mexico, and built it for the purpose of it being their home, but also a place where music is being made. And I mean, that was a total dream. But we were there for a month, making Leon Bridges' record, and that's easily one of my favorites. I spent a lot of time at Electric Lady, which, the upper floor there on the roof, you've got some light, or you can just leave the door open and it goes out onto this patio on the roof, and you're just like in the middle of Greenwich Village.
Are you recording in that zone too?
Yeah. In fact, there's a song called Heaven Is on Kacey's last record that we recorded actually on the roof. You can kind of hear New York kind of in the background, but we just recorded it on the roof out there, which was cool.
That's fun. How did you arrive at going to Electric Ladyland, and how do you arrive at different studios to make different records?
It depends. I mean, I think that happened because the idea of just making music in New York City was appealing to Kacey, and it was appealing to me as well. I kind of had let go of the idea of making records in New York because it seemed like those days had kind of come and gone.
Mm-hmm.
But Lee Foster, who has really revitalized Electric Lady, he's done an amazing job of attracting people to come there. And I had a number of things over the last few years that brought me there. But yeah, it's not for everyone. It's expensive to be in New York. It takes a lot, but yeah, I really enjoyed being in that upper floor. The A and B rooms are cool as well.
And the downstairs doesn't have like a famous big ceiling thing.
Yeah, there's
like a big floating thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things about all the rooms there. But yeah, basically the A and B room are underground. I mean, like, and that used to be I think it used to be a nightclub back in the 40s or something. Yeah. It's got a lot of history. But the upstairs, the top floor, is where Jimi Hendrix had his apartment, and it kind of wasn't initially intended to be a studio, but over the last several years, that's what it became. And so, yeah, it's got more of like a home studio kind of vibe up there with couches, and it's like, and then you got the porch and everything. So
that's cool. Yeah, New York's definitely I've seen some studios that have that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Hey, rock stars, imagine sitting down at your DAW with 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds to choose from. That's what Complete 15 from Native Instruments delivers, the most powerful creative tool in your studio. Inside, you'll find Contact 8, Massive X, battery, and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, giving you everything you need to create in any genre. Plus, you'll get inspiring sampled instruments like upright bass and electric keys, along with endless expansions to keep your sound fresh. Whether you're producing hip-hop, scoring films, or creating EDM bangers, Complete 15 has you covered. Pair that with Native Instruments control keyboard and machine hardware, and you get next-level integration that makes music creation fast, fun, and seamless. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. We're back now for the jam session. My guest today is Ian Fitchuk, joining us here at Ready to Rock Studios. Ready to rock. You ready to jam, dude?
Let's jam.
That's a little confusing. Is this ready to rock or are you ready to jam? But oh well.
Either one.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You got to have something to say at the second half of a show. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Yeah, you were talking about some of the studios that you'd been to. Anything else come to mind as far as, or were there any studios that you really wish you could have recorded at?
Well, I've heard a lot about Rack Studios in London. I think that's still there. I did a little bit at oh man, the name's gonna escape me now. Ray Davies' place.
Oh, somewhere
Conch.
in London?
Yeah, Conch
nice,
Studios.
yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Did you get to see Ray?
No, but I did get to take a peek in the guitar closet, and there's decades worth of guitars sitting around there that were pretty cool. And I've done some stuff out at Sonic Ranch. That was a crazy experience.
I've heard that's great. Yeah.
It was, I'd love to go back at another time of year. It was
It's
like
Texas?
Yeah, outside of El Paso. It was kind of in the middle of winter, and it was honestly kind of bleak. But there's a lot of great gear out there. And where else? Been able to go to Fame, Muscle Shoals. That was cool.
What's in Jamaica now?
In Jamaica?
Yeah,
I
down
have
in the
no
islands and
idea.
stuff.
I don't know.
Would you want to make records down in Caribbean islands?
Yeah, that sounds like
or
a blast.
tropical islands, right?
Yeah, let's go. I've learned to surf.
Yeah. Well, it was fun to go write songs and surf. I have no idea how. I mean, I guess if you have a well enough built place, then the climate is controlled inside the studio, so it kind of doesn't matter where it is.
Yeah,
but it's fun to be in a place where you can just. What I loved about Costa Rica was I never turned the air conditioning on. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna see if I can go without it. And before you know it, I was loving it. It's
That's
just
great.
windows open, screens every night, and how cool it would be to make records that way too, where everything's just
open
air. It feels really natural.
I have been out to Rick Rubin's place out
Oh, Shangri-La.
Yeah, and I know there's one of those rooms
Malibu.
that has the open air, but they were telling me what a nightmare that is with all the salty air and the console and stuff. It's kind of a
I believe it.
It's cool and fun until it's not.
Yeah, they say like computers. I guess guitars go on boats, sailboats, but I would imagine the strings just get destroyed.
Yeah.
Not to mention maybe
now making a record on a boat is something I would try. Yeah, I've a little bit gotten into sailing. Actually went with the Lenning.
Bill Simzik talked about making records on boats when he was here.
How did it turn out?
Great. I mean, he had Bayside Studio in Miami too.
Okay.
But I just love hearing stories like that. And of course, like, Paul McCartney was, they were out there doing that. Was it Wings that they were doing?
That sounds right.
On a boat, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I was really into the destination record idea and I've been able to, make records all over the place and then that's still cool. But I'm also kind of in a place right now where I'm just, I'm happy to be home and just a little quieter and just, there's still great studios here in Nashville and so many great home studios that you can also kind of run the risk of getting so excited by the lore and the setting that you kind of can forget that you're really just trying to make some music.
Famous studio or just the adventure studio?
I'm like, oh, it'd be awesome to make a record on a boat. It's like, well, yeah, that does sound fun, but also like there's nothing wrong with just, doing it down the street at your buddy's place. My friend Conrad Snyder is around the corner from here. And I mean, I make...
Conrad, where are you at, man? Where are you at?
Yeah, get on here. And it's just like when I can, drive 7 minutes to my buddy's house and make something really special. It's like, do you have to go around the world to,
right.
Well,
and then there's also the thing, the boat, we'll just keep with that example. In the end, it still has to come out of the speakers sounding right.
That's right.
It is.
Yeah.
And so you got to make sure you're doing that correctly. But there is something fun about, the house, that go with your band out to a house.
Sure.
In the countryside and, set up mics in different rooms kind of stuff. All of wood and nature sounds. And also just feeling good, sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah. So what about that balance about like, the vibe and the, making sure that everything feels good for making music? What do you feel like are some things you've learned around that? How often is that helpful? How often is it like, just like, come on, step up.
Well,
step up and put your performance A game
food's
on.
really important. Everybody needs to eat well. And it's nice when you're in a situation where there's somebody cooking, or like this place in Mexico, there are these amazing women who would cook a couple meals a day. And for the most part, it was pretty healthy. And, that's important. But ultimately, the most important thing is, the relationships between the people who are making this music together and, everybody's ability to kind of check their ego, everybody's ability to feel like they can speak up and share their ideas, feel safe to, be vulnerable. And, when you've got all that going on and you've got really songs, that's the number one thing, right?
Yeah.
You could go rent a castle in Switzerland and have a Neve there and, have it all teed up. And if you don't have a great song to record, it's like, what are we doing here?
Hey, let's talk about that for just a sec. What are things that you've seen as far as where great songs come from? How do they get to you? How do they get to us as we're going into the studio?
Well, fortunately, I've been able to work with a lot of great artists who, I get to be a part of that process of finding the songs that are a part of the bigger project and going down the journey of, just trying to write a song with somebody. Often that's kind of how it starts. Like, I made this record with Maggie Rogers a couple of years or so ago. at Electric Lady, and it was like, we got together, we had 2 days just to see whether we could or would write a song together. And it turns out we wrote 5. And
Nice.
in the process of writing those 5 songs, I kind of made what at the time I thought were just like the kind of demos to be able to listen to something at the end of the day. And long story short, everything that we did in those 5 days was essentially the record. It was
Wow.
like, every time I went back to try and like re-record, the rhythm section, it was kind of like, it felt like it was taking a step backwards. So,
Probably helps to be in a really good studio setting. In those
totally.
moments
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything was kind of set up and ready to go. So even if mentally what I was doing was demoing an idea, it was like, well, no, this is all valuable and worth keeping. And there's an essence and kind of a naivety to it that is hard to reproduce or try to improve upon, That's not always the case, obviously. Sometimes it is really important to go back and execute it in a better way. But yeah, songs, I mean, there are instances where, projects come to me and they already have the songs, and in those situations, it's like I have run into a couple scenarios where, I like the idea of working with a particular artist, but I don't feel like the songs are there. And then you're kind of at the dilemma. It's like, well, do you still move forward and work on this project or not? And I think I'm glad that in those situations I've tended to like step back if it doesn't feel like the material is there. But most of the time, I'm working with an artist that, we're going to spend some time trying to get some songs together. And I also, in those instances, feel very lucky that I have like a wide spectrum of people and other writers that I can bring into the process. If I feel like somebody's skill set is important, or if their personalities can match or whatever, that's a really great and rewarding part of producing a record for me, is like pulling in other musicians, other songwriters, and, just like filling in those gaps and kind of trying to create a structure and a world for somebody. And the process of like including others in that is one of my favorite aspects, really.
So in a writing situation, is it often an artist that comes with a beginning of an idea, and then your role or our role in co-writing with someone would be to help them see that idea through?
Yeah. A lot of times somebody will bring in an idea. There have been instances in the past, not so much recently, but for a while there, I would try to have some music generated, like, 16 bars of like a chord progression and like a groove, some templates kind of as jumping off places. And that can be useful. But a lot of artists that I've worked with, kind of, have like a title that they're kicking around, or like a verse, chorus, melody, something to a place to start. And then it's a matter of, sometimes it's really just like getting out of the way and giving them the space to validate, like, hey, that's a great idea. Like, I think keep going with it. Or have you thought about this? And the trick there is to not, be overbearing and not try to steer it away from, make it something more of myself than them,
Right.
It's really important to like,
have you experienced that in the past? Have you learned about yourself that you can get excited about an idea and then you have to remember?
Yeah, I definitely have run into situations where I'm trying to like turn a song into something, take it somewhere that I think is like a really great place for it to be, and meeting that resistance with whoever I'm working with, and realizing that their head somewhere else, and then having to just go like, hey, this is not my, it's not my record, this is, I'm serving this person for what they're trying to do. And
what works in that moment as far as, shifting your own perspective where you're like, okay, I'm going to explore where they're coming from a little more.
I think it's always about asking more questions or, if I'm running out of ideas, if I feel like I've tried, I'm like, well, you don't like this groove. You don't like this groove. What about this? It's like, there's always something else to try. And if I feel myself getting to that headspace of just like wanting to be difficult, then it's probably time to go take a walk. It's probably time to get a bite. It's like you're getting myself out of the way is super important.
Look, when it comes to finishing your music, nothing compares to iZotope Ozone 12. This is a complete mixing and mastering suite of tools with 20 pro modules to shape your sound. You'll find the new bass control for a tight, powerful low end, new unlimiter to restore life to overcompressed tracks, and new stem EQ so you can rebalance vocals and drums and bass without even opening the mix session. And when it's time to make your music loud, the IRC5 Maximizer gives you loud, clean mixes and masters that still sound open and clear. Save time with AI-powered workflows that keep you in the driver's seat. Ozone 12 takes the guesswork out, but you stay in control so your music translates everywhere, from streaming to stage. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Well, it's always amazing what the studio break can do.
I'm all about some breaks.
I mean, I remember working with Will Kimbrough here. I think we were doing his Home Away record, and I don't even remember what song it was. Or maybe it was something where he was going to do a solo and, burning out, and was like, oh, let's just go take 15, let's go make coffee. And, we're just hanging out, shooting the shit and joking around at coffee, and then walk back in, sit down, nails it in one take,
Yep.
Sometimes it's just that resetting,
Mm-hmm.
just reapproaching it.
Yeah, or listen to some other music. Go see a movie. Do whatever. It's like, and at the same time, there are instances where I've wanted to just kind of throw in the towel and just kind of be like, maybe this isn't. Maybe we're barking up the wrong tree, but like persistence and just sticking to it and not being lazy, like that's also sometimes the case too. So it's like, but either way, having that line of communication open with whoever you're working with to know that, you can, explain like where you're at or what you're thinking or what you're going through. If it's all up in here and you're not sharing it, then you can't, when you're trying to read each other's minds, like
you got to be able to share.
You got to be able to kind of advocate for yourself. And
that's also like to the point of, everybody feeling like they can safely share an idea. Like you have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable, right?
100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even if you're just like, I don't know, I got this idea. What do you guys think? Right?
Yeah.
What about the process of, for somebody who's sort of curious about it and hasn't quite got there yet, the concept of co-writing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have to grapple with wanting to do more co-writing and not knowing how to enter that space or enter that world? Like, geez, when do I say I want to are we co-writing right now? Did I need to say I wanted to co-write? We need to know this was a co-writing of moment before we did it? Are those even useful questions?
I mean, for me, it was tricky for a minute because when I decided that I had been producing a lot and I had been doing a lot of session work, and I guess it was in 2016 or so when I decided I wanted to really be more intentional about trying to do more co-writing. And I signed my first publishing deal and started doing more co-writes. It took me a while to kind of figure out what my role was. And that only comes from trying a lot of different things, and for a while there, I was like, well, maybe I'm supposed to be the track guy, which is where I would, try to have like some music ready, or while the song is being written, I'm kind of like building out the production. And I just didn't, that seemed like the most obvious way for me to contribute as a songwriter for a while, but it didn't result in a lot of great songs or even projects. I think where I've kind of come back to is sitting with somebody and keeping it relegated almost to like, a guitar and a piano, and being like really getting to the heart of the concept, and structurally making sure that the song can stand on its own, and then getting into the weeds with, what it sounds like and looks like and all that stuff. And again, like going back to like having the experience of working with a lot of different people, and knowing if I'm working with an artist who really wants to be pushed lyrically, like I enjoy working on lyrics. I value them, obviously, but I can be slow. It takes me a while. I'm not like, I don't just like spit out tons of lyrical ideas. So if that's what somebody needs help with, then the chances are I'm going to pull somebody into the equation, that co-write, that has that skill set and has the ability to, bounce a lot more lyrical ideas off of.
Yeah.
Or if it's, somebody's really great with lyrics, but wants to be pushed melodically, like, I can help in all of those respects, but I think it's always a good idea to have all the help I can get, really,
Right.
So it's a lot of times it's like almost operating like this filter, if we're working on a song and I've got an artist and I've got another writer, maybe even two other writers, being able to kind of, somewhat objectively look at this thing that we're working on and be like, okay, yes, maybe not. And like corralling those ideas as they're happening is as much a part of the songwriting process and what I kind of find myself doing a lot of times than it is being like, here, I've got this great idea for a song. Do you like it? And so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with that in, the recording situation, because there's that whole like band arranging, thing. And it definitely has that combination. Like sometimes you need somebody to just have a strong vision for what the direction should be.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really great when, it's always really great when there's that dialogue, somebody's like, I don't know, how about this right in this section? And you listen, that's cool as shit,
Yeah.
It's really fun. And then sometimes it's fun when there's kind of differing visions for this song. Like I'll make music with my buddy Kevin, and he just loves surf rock. So, it's like he'll pull things in that direction at times. And I'm thinking like, yeah, but what about this, like, kind of classic rock thing, or what, funk vibe, or whatever it is that I'm hearing in my head. And then when, if we allow both things to happen, then you get that weird, convergence of ideas.
Something new. Yeah.
Yeah. Something new. But that's cool. And then, so like, but how is that arranging in a band in the studio similar or different to multiple writers on a song?
Well, it's interesting because I actually haven't worked with nearly as many bands as I have artists. So there's been a few along the way.
But I mean, aren't you guys all picking an instrument to go play on?
Sometimes, but I would say 80% of the time in the last several years, if it's something that Daniel and I are working on together, then we're kind of sharing those responsibilities as musicians as a part of the production.
Right,
but,
so it's sort of one layer at a time.
Yeah, but a lot of times I'm kind of playing most of the instruments unless the artist has a particular, if they're a guitar player, and that's an important ingredient.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it really more hinges on my relationship with the engineer that I'm working with and how they can kind of see where I'm headed and be ready for me to throw down whatever it is. And sometimes it's a really backwards way. Sometimes, I'll record the drums first and then kind of build in that way. Or sometimes I've got a keyboard idea that I'm building more of the melodic elements around, and drums come on last. It's kind of it's a weird winding road. So to your point, arranging it, at least in a lot of the things that I've been working on recently, it's been less kind of directing an ensemble than it is kind of being able to create the sound a piece at a time as an individual, and but hopefully make it not just sound like there's a bunch of different elements stacked on top of each other.
Right.
It sounds like a group. But I've been doing it, I think, long enough now to where I have a relationship with hearing myself playing in the headphones and being able to accompany myself that feels like you're listening to a band.
Yeah.
And that's something that has just come from doing it for a long time. And early on, it was just out of necessity. It's well, nobody else is here, and I can do it well enough to where I'm going to put it down and see what happens. And it's not that I love having other musicians around. It's just so much of the recording and production these days is happening while the song is being written, that calling 2 or 3 other musicians to just kind of be there only as musicians while I'm working with an artist and writing a song is not necessarily
doesn't necessarily feel
the
like
thing, So I'm just, it's more getting other musicians, whether it's a pedal steel player or a violinist or another guitar player coming in afterwards, and then being able to have them add to what I've already done. I love that. And I love working with other musicians.
Who are some of the pedal steel, violin?
Oh man.
What was the other one you said? You mentioned, I think you said three instruments.
I'm lucky enough we've got all the greats here. We've got Paul Franklin, we've got Dan Dugmore, we've got Justin Shipper, we've got
and that's all pedal steel, right?
Yeah, Russ Paul. Yeah. There's there's so many incredible guys. Matt Combs is a.
Did you ever work with Al Perkins?
I never have. No, I would love to though.
He must be much older now too, because he was an elder statesman of pedal steel when I worked with him in the 90s.
Yeah,
it was kind of fun to do a session and be like, holy shit, man, you were on Exile on Main Street.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there's a guy in East Nashville named Matt Combs who plays all, violin, viola, cello, and he'll come in and kind of create arrangements on the fly. And
yeah, it's fun doing that.
I love working with him. There's guys like Todd Lombardo who he'll come over on a moment's notice when I'm working on something over at Conrad's or wherever, and just add his dimension to whatever it is that I'm working on. I just, and then even sometimes remotely, sending a track over to Aaron Sterling, get him to play some drums, having him send it back. I love utilizing other musicians, whenever I can.
Yeah. Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. I remember listening to a Jason Faulkner record years ago, from Jellyfish, and it was the first time I noticed hearing a record where somebody had kind of played all the instruments themselves, and it had a quality of togetherness to the record, that was pretty cool. But it made me aware of like how, the balance of people playing together also can create. Like Big Star, it's there's probably a lot of overdubs in there too, but I mean, it's like, there's like a chaos that's also corralling just in a cool way.
I think one of the guys that I early on kind of gravitated towards was Ethan Johns. And he was working with a lot of singer-songwriters, and so was I at that time. And he often was the rhythm section with this artist, whether it was Ray LaMontagne or Leona Ness or I'm forgetting others right now, or Ryan Adams, And
did you do any much stuff with Ryan?
No, I've never worked with him, but I think he's made some incredible records for sure.
I did one session with him where I was helping him mix a bunch of 4-track recordings, and I was like, "This is fucking great, man."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, right on. Well, let me see. I guess there's more records we can talk about too. So, Kacey Musgraves, Deeper Well. I think have you already kind of described some of the session on that, or is there more you'd like to talk about writing and producing that experience and playing all the instruments?
Oh, I mean, well, I didn't. I mean, that's another scenario
playing a
where
lot of instruments.
It was, a lot of Daniel and I, that was over the course of a couple of years in several different studios, and so I don't know.
And was that was after Golden Hour?
Yes, there was another record after Golden Hour called Star-Crossed, which was kind of made during the pandemic, and was again kind of the same crew, but that was mostly done here in Nashville.
Yeah. Okay, well, so let's see. I think I was just looking at the same question I already asked you, so let me jump forward. How about High with Steven Sanchez?
Yes.
Organs, guitars, reverbs.
Yeah, Steven, I met him, I think he was still in high school. He had just been signed off of TikTok. That was like kind of one of the first artists that I worked with that was kind of the beginning of that trend, at least that I was a part of. Yeah. We made this EP, and then we recorded, I think it was just, we had recorded a number of songs, and then the song Until I Found You kind of came in somewhat randomly, maybe towards the end of this EP that we were making. And I just remember he came over to Conrad's, and I mean, in the matter of an hour or two, I mean, there's not much going on in that song. It's a very few elements. And I just didn't think much about it. It wasn't that I didn't think it was a good song. I thought it was really good, but where it ended up going and the impact that it had, it's just, you just never know these days. It's like months and months later, it was like doing this, and then it was doing this, and then it was doing this, and for it being such like a kind of a throwback song, it's just, I think it exceeded all expectations. But he's an incredible songwriter, incredible singer, and I really, and then we got to kind of make a full length record kind of on the back of that song doing what it did, and I'm really proud of that album. We did it mostly at Conrad's studio just around the corner from here.
I sort of remember making a note that the reverbs were pretty cool in that too.
Yeah.
Was this like plates or springs or something?
Both,
unusual?
yeah. And this is another reason you should have Conrad Snyder on here, because he'll give you all the dirty details. Yeah.
Let me see. You've already talked about Maggie, so that was probably at Don't Forget Me was one of the ones I wanted to ask about. Was that at Electric Lady?
Yeah, that was actually at the end of I think our second session together, and I actually that day got violently ill, and what I remember was us starting that song Don't Forget Me, and I laid down as best as I could the acoustic drums, bass, and then just like laid on the couch for another couple hours before I finally I think I might even booked a flight home. We were in New York, and I was just I don't know if it was COVID or what it was, but
it's no fun when you're traveling.
When I hear that song, all I can think of is just how I felt. Like I was on death's door. Yeah, I was just, but she, like, credit to her for pushing through and getting it done, because I was not a lot of help after that first hour. I was in bad shape.
Wow. How about Sweet Symphony with Joy Oladokun? Yeah, Joy was somebody I worked with several years ago. We did a song called If You've Got a Problem that I love and has done really well for her. And then we worked a bunch with Mike Elizondo, which was a treat, because I've just been a huge fan of his for a long time. And we did a lot of co-writing and co-production with Joy. And she had started Sweet Symphony. I think she mostly had it written. And I think I helped her finish the bridge. And I don't know at what point the opportunity to have Chris Stapleton jump in on it. I don't remember how that all unfolded really, but she's a special person, and she's like a Nigerian American.
Yeah, she's a great producer in her own right. And I think really since the record we made, she's been mostly self-producing. That was it's always fun to get a vocal back. I wasn't there when Chris did his vocal, but there's nothing better than getting, a Chris Stapleton vocal back and being like, wow, well, this song just
did a cool thing.
Kicked up another notch or two. Yeah.
How, so you must have some experience with getting tracks sent in, like a vocal performance or something. Do you sometimes hear things, maybe not in that instance, but in your experience, where something comes in and it's like, oh boy, if I was in the room, I would have helped that pocket. We would have hit that one more time. And how do you handle that sometimes?
Luckily, I haven't had too many things come back where you're just like, ooh, that's not what we were hoping for. For some reason,
what if it is? But it's just like, the timing's kind of out.
I mean, luckily working with engineers like Conrad and John Estes and others, like, they're very, when it comes to editing, they're very musical. So I trust that if we need to kind of nudge some things around or kind of make it sit with the mix in a particular way, that there's a way to make that happen. But for some reason, what I thought of was I was in Mexico making this record with Leon, and I had the idea of a flute solo. I love flute solos. There's one on Kacey's record on Starcross, and then I had the idea for another on Leon's, and just shooting an email over to Jim Hoke, like me being in Mexico City, being like, Jim, can you throw down, a flute solo, and getting it back like hours later, and it just being like exactly what I wanted.
Took him that long to make it?
Yeah. And he maybe sent like 2 or 3 passes, and I think the very first one was just like bingo, and that's what makes me feel grateful to know so many talented people.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I've heard him, okay, we're going to do a horn arrangement. I would have been engineering. He's like, all right, give me this track, give me this track, give me this track.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, and you're like, holy shit, that sounds amazing,
Yeah, he's amazing.
Stack it all right there and there. That's fun, man. So any more stories about that, doing that record? Was that the one you did at Sonic Ranch?
No, it was at El Desierto.
Oh, El Desierto. That's right.
Yeah, outside of Mexico City. And that the cool thing there was that, back in 2018 or 2019, Daniel and I spent a couple weeks writing songs with Leon, and we had, almost a record worth of material that came together during that time. And for a number of reasons, it just sat on the shelf. Leon went and finished another record that he had been working on in LA at the time with Ricky Reed, and that turned into Gold Digger Sound, which I think came out in 21 or 22. And so basically from 2019 until 2024, really, end of 23, we had all these songs that I thought were incredible, and really a lot of recording that was already done on that for a while seemed like it would never see the light of day. But it just goes to show you never know what's going to come back around. You just kind of have to wait for the right time. So a lot of the record that I ended up going down to Mexico and kind of pulling from material that we had started 5 years prior, and then a lot of material that Leon had done in between that time with other writers and producers, and then kind of trying to form it into one body of work. And I brought Nick Bockrath down there. He plays guitar for Cage the Elephant. Conrad came with me, and my dear friend Josh Moore, who was the guy I had mentioned earlier, who was doing a lot of production early on. I learned a lot from, and he's a wizard on all instruments. And so putting that kind of crew together and making, we basically had we went to Mexico, had a month, and the objective was because of his touring schedule and release and all this stuff, is we need a finished record basically by the end of the month. So just go and get it done. And that was...
What's easier? Is it easier to finish a record in a week or a month?
Man.
In other words, sometimes my point I'm getting at is sometimes if you have what almost seems like, we got time,
I love a deadline. I love constraints. I love assignments. I like kind of built in, maybe it's why I like doing colored pencil art, where it's the frame is already there. You just got to kind of fill in the blanks. There's an aspect to that I really like. I think when something's too open-ended, you can start to kind of turn inside of yourself and start to spin out a little bit. So
we certainly did.
Yeah, it's
I've been there.
I like having a deadline. It makes you kind of organize your time in a certain way. It makes me keeps me from overthinking too much. Keeps me working in an intuitive, trusting my gut. And
having no deadline is like recording a song with no arrangement.
Yeah.
Or no song.
And I think that's part of what's challenging for me about to circle back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is, creating for myself. It's when I don't have a purpose or anybody kind of saying it needs to be done by this. And it's, it can feel kind of overwhelming in that way. So I may just, like I said, I may need to give myself an assignment or a deadline.
Yeah, or I mean, if you got fans out there now, so just reach out and have them give you an assignment and some deadlines.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
a little bit. Although you don't want too much.
yeah.
Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mix Master Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro-sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins in Pro Tools. And the best part is, these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode. But I mean, like when I went down, when I was writing songs on the beach, it's great because it's like, you got to bang something out before the sun sets.
Yeah, there you go.
Or like, it gets cold or whatever,
Right.
A beach in Maine, it starts to get chilly if you're not,
Well, I'm going to Maine in a couple weeks, just for vacation, but I have thought about maybe just challenging myself to getting an idea at least a day, a song a day. So maybe this is...
I would go to the beach. I just go to my brother's island and I go to, he's got a house on an island. It's not his island. But just go down to the beach there and find the biggest rock. And I'm like, that's my standing desk. And just park my stuff on it.
There you go.
Stare out at the seals popping up like, what the hell are you doing? So tell us about co-writing and co-producing Amen with Beyoncé on Cowboy Carter, which went on to win Grammy of the Year, Grammy for Album of the Year again.
Yeah, that...
How many of those are you going to do? How many albums a year are going to work on?
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that really was just, that was again, kind of like a wait and see, who knows what's going to happen type thing where, I had been in the studio with my friend Cam, who's a wonderful artist, and, Tyler Johnson, who's another dear friend of mine, producer, songwriter, and I think Dave Hamelin. And Dave was really a big part of that whole record project for Beyoncé. And I mean, the day that we worked on it, it was really, there were two songs, American Requiem and Amen really was like what became of what originally was that one song. I mean, that whole process, from what I could tell, was tons and tons of ideas kind of like ciphering through whoever was, ultimately with Beyoncé. And I don't know if diluting is the right word, but like having bits and pieces and fragments of songs coming from a lot of different directions and then coming out the other side. And that part of that process, I'm not privy to. I just, was lucky enough to be in the studio that day with Cam and Dave, where Cam had brought in an idea. Dave had another idea that they had been already working on. We kind of put them together into one idea, and then ultimately for them to be broken apart into two different ideas. And then I find out one, I'm in Mexico with Leon, like a day before the record came out. It was like, oh, here's what became of that, and there's my piano, just like kind of, which the form that it's in Amen is not the form that it was the day that I left it.
Wow.
2.5 years prior. So, that's why you do the best that you can with what you have on a given day, and kind of surrender to the fact that you really have very little control over what happens after that.
Well, as a creative,
yeah,
it's the same thing. I mean, I learned that from a poet that I worked with a long time ago, Leo Canellan, and he just said, once I make the poem and I let it go, it's no longer mine. It's like, well, as soon as somebody just listens to it, it's now theirs,
right?
Because it's the experience of that, So
yeah,
it's good good message to us to just like learn how to create and then let go.
Exactly.
I think about this sometimes watching my daughter grow up too, and in the land of social media. And I'd look and I'd see her like really composing her post and the graphics around it and everything. And it occurred to me for a moment, I don't know how deep an insight this was, but I was like, maybe it's a good thing to learn to like create little bits of artwork that just go out and then they're just gone. So you're constantly letting go.
Did you see the Brian Eno documentary at all?
No, I should.
Oh, well, good luck. I don't know. My understanding was that there was an AI generator kind of creating thousands of variations of it at each showing, but it's never gonna. So the version that I saw,
theater showing,
yeah, I saw it at the Belcourt. It was incredible. But that particular version that I saw that day will never be anywhere ever again. Which begs the question of whether any version of it will ever be able to be seen. I don't know. It was pretty. Well,
it also says that the next version that I see will be just as brand new as the one that happened before.
There you go.
It was encouraging, right?
Yeah.
So last one I wanted to ask you, just talking about your studio. You were talking about getting into making your music, setting up your studio. What and you started in a small room, you're thinking about a big room. What to you goes in a studio right now, in a home studio? And maybe you don't have the answer yet.
Well, I'm not qualified to have much because I've never been an engineer. I've never mixed anything in my life. I think I will end up getting, a few pieces of outboard gear, but really all I need to do what I feel like I do best would be, I've got my Juno, a bass, an acoustic guitar. I've got a new Jazzmaster, an SM7, and a small drum kit, and I'm good to go.
Do you feel like you would like to have them all right next to you, or do you feel like you like to have a little breathing room and you just go in the other room and get the thing and bring it in?
No, I like to have everything kind of in reach, and that's why I've loved working at Conrad's and also John's studios. There's like all the instruments are ready to go, ready to just plug in and play, and in the vicinity of one another, and I can kind of just ping around and do that. And that's really all I need. Just very few things, and probably get some Coles, piano done. And then, like I love, soft synths and like all of the plugins, and I'm like, for as organic and as natural of like kinds of records as I like to make, I've no problem using, plugins and virtual versions of old instruments, stuff like that. So
do you feel creative when you're sort of in the sweet spot of a mixed position, or do you feel more like that makes me think about something else and I'd rather just be a couple little speakers and I'm in the corner of the room?
No, I love a great dialed in listening experience, and like some of, there are some great studios where like the vibe is great and everything is cool and all that, but like unless you're in the mixed position, it kind of sounds wonky, and that drives me nuts when I'm like, when the only place where it's accurate is in one place, like, and you're kind of drifting about it. It's like, that's super annoying.
Yeah, because if you're going to work with, if other people are working with each other, you hope that it can sort of sound good for
like everybody to be hearing the same thing, but you don't always get that. So is there a place that comes to mind where you get that experience? I mean, Conrad's is great. He's got his giant ATCs.
Yeah, those are great.
And it's like a small room. So like it's from like me to you, and we don't necessarily like listen at full.
So they're not necessarily
volume.
cranked, but it's like they just spread and the sound goes.
For the space that they're taking up in the room, it's like you can be in any part of the room and you're essentially kind of hearing
Yeah.
the same thing. Yeah.
That's cool. That's fun. All right. So this is a question that I love to ask all the guests who've been on the show. So we get to take, it's hypothetically, we get to take the Wayback Studio machine and you go back in time and you find young Ian, who's maybe you don't go all the way back to Suzuki violin lessons. Maybe you're getting into playing, you're thinking about jazz, whatever. And you say, listen, dude, here's the single most important thing you need to know to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day. What advice do you feel like you'd enjoy going back and giving yourself if you could?
Well, I think it applies to like really any aspect of life, but it is be grateful, be patient, and be curious.
Nice, dude. And be a rock star. No, that's great. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think those are key, man.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful is so crucial.
Number one.
Make records. I mean, it's easy to do a lot of work on music, make records, collaborate, and sort of internalize and build up, irritations or resentments or anything like that. And then it's just all they do is just eat you up,
That's right.
The more you can just recognize how grateful you are for, especially things that come along as challenges sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Grateful doesn't necessarily mean happy all the time either.
Right,
so.
Right. Awesome, dude. Well, it's great to have you on the show, man. Will you let the rock stars know how can they find out more about you? Where would you like them to go? I mean, you've got your website.
Yeah, there's a website up there, and I think there's some stuff floating around the YouTubes and stuff like that. But mostly if you just go to Wikipedia, you can find hopefully a pretty accurate list of, music that I've been a part of. And
are you a social media guy at all?
No, I was for a long time, and I think my life has improved since it wasn't a part of my life. So.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, well, I was going to say something about it. I guess that answered the question, was social media. So,
yeah.
I know what I wanted to say. So Rockstars, of course, we have a playlist in the show notes. That's what I was going to say. So we've got a wonderful playlist of all these records we're talking about. Just click through and you can go listen because they're really good. Really good. Well, thanks for joining us, Rockstars. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can get more of these interviews. And drop a comment in and let us know how you enjoyed this too. And if you have questions about any of the records we're talking about, I'll jump in and if you happen to see it, great. And if not, I'll let you know if there's a good question for you or anything.
Great.
But it's just a pleasure having you here, man. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Lidge. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man. Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lidge Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who help make this episode possible. iZotope, Native Instruments, Atom Audio, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, and Picker. And remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off at iZotope.com and nativeinstruments.com for any plug-in purchase. Don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course, Mixmaster Bundle. You'll find the link in the show notes below. And if you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, please check out our sponsors also in those links in the show notes. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They are going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this, it's a great way to help support the show, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you as well. I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars: Vlad Weselchenko, Jeffrey Simmons, and Max Young. Thank you so much for watching and listening, Rockstars, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.